Hey guys, the Frosty Planet Pack DLC has officially been released. It is currently available on Steam for an equivalent of around $8 or cheaper if you buy it in the bundle. A quick disclaimer, I wanted to present to you all the changes that you can expect in the DLC in a single video, this video. But after recording the literal same things I have already presented in the previous two videos, it just felt like I was wasting my life with something that I've already done. So I will present to you all the changes since my last Frosty Planet Pack update video, which is why I politely ask you to watch those videos if you have any more questions or interest in the content of the previous changes. Links in the top right corner, in the description and in the comments. And now to the changes and improvements in all versions. They added database entries to the equipment. So if we press on equipment and go to Atmosuit, we can now see under effects, for example, the insulation and insulation thickness plus 20 centimeters. If we compare that, for example, with a warm coat, the effect of the warm coat is an insulation thickness of 0.8 centimeters. Compared to the pajamas with only 0.25, it will hopefully keep you warm. Not as much as a lead suit though. 30 centimeters, look at this. And of course all the other important effects here. They also updated the description text for equipment entries to be consistent with what appears in the side screen when you click on it. If I spawn in a lead suit, for example, this here should say the same as this information here to the right. And now to the changes and improvements for the Frosty Planet Pack. In the update since the last update, they added the Mercury ceiling light, this monstrosity right here, which has a liquid intake and takes in liquid mercury, which leads to some issues, because the liquid mercury quickly turns into solid mercury in the areas that a bonbon tree grows, because there is some mercury in solid form anyways in this area. Even though the lamp produces, let's check this, 1 kDtu of heat. The mercury lamp has a light level of 50,000, allowing it to power the beach chair. So checking out the mercury ceiling light again. As you can see, it needs a little bit of time to power up. It has a powering up percentage right here. If its liquid and power requirements continue to be met, it will reach maximum brightness in around 1 minute. So at the moment we are only at 24,000 lux, which is pretty high already, but it will go up until 100% is reached. Just like that. And now we are at 60,000 lux and it is fully charged. You still use up a little bit of mercury per second, 130 grams per second to be exact, but it only has a power requirement of 60 watts. The heat output, as already mentioned, is only 1 kDtu and it has an overheat temperature of 75 degrees Celsius. Also, as you can see, it is pretty special in its light output. Let's see how far this goes down. Around 8 tiles. They added a new campsite point of interest to all the Saros asteroids, which is this one here. If we go into dev mode, it is called George Campsite. It consists out of a stove, a bed, the shiny rock and a smart looking smart storage. Lumen quartz, that is what it's called here. In the Frosty Planet Pack DLC only, biobots and rovers are no longer able to carve lumen quartz. Because as you can see, carving doesn't work. Sweepy stations now craft the sweepy using the same temperature as the material used. Germs in the material will also now be transferred to the newly created sweepy. This sweepy here, for example, is at 284 degrees Celsius because I dipped the steel in magma. And here we do have steel at minus 252 degrees Celsius. Once used to build the sweepy will also be at a temperature of minus 237 degrees, because it already heated up because of the environment. They added a new recipe to the crafting station. You can now use the cinnabar to craft oxygen masks out of cinnabar. Pikeable bush and squash bloom can now be fertilized for farmer's touch using the farming station. In addition to all the existing recipes, check out the two previous videos. They added the nosh gnomes food recipe to the deep fryer. It needs 6 units of nosh beans, 1 kilogram of tallow and produces 5000 kilocalorie of nosh gnomes with a good quality and a morale plus 8. Those one here. Nosh gnomes have a spoil time of 8 cycles. They increased the quality of the squash fries and removed table salt from the recipe. Now the squash fries only need 4000 kilocalories of plume squash, 1 kilogram of tallow to give you 5400 kilocalories of squash fries with a good quality and a morale plus 8. They do spoil in 4 cycles. They added a whole bunch Frosty Planet Pack exclusive blueprints, like these here. Or these here. Let's wait for the duplicants to sleep in them and then it will go away. Or these here. There are also new drywall designs, new blueprints for the electric grill and the gas range. There's a new blueprint for the grooming station. There's the storytime night lamp. There's not a smart looking smart storage compared to the regular smart storage. In case you didn't notice, the printing pod also looks a little bit frosty. This is also a blueprint, so we can change that. We have some new artworks. This one here, to be specific. We do have the catch of the day, this artwork here. And last for the artworks, but not least, we do have the wood chopper here in the middle, called Babe and the Blue Flocks. And then there's everything you can see on the screen right now, which all are also new. Wouldn't call them blueprints, but if you go in the blueprint section, you can see them listed down here. There's a new Atmosuit blueprint, this one here. You can change it by clicking on a duplicate, going to blueprints, then you can change their clothing, or if you click on Atmosuit, you can change their Atmosuits, but only the ones that you have unlocked. So go to your blueprints, check your Atmosuits, unlock them, or go to the supply closet, go to wardrobe, click this tiny button in the top left, and then you can add new outfits by selecting whatever parts of a blueprint you want to put on. This helmet, this suit for example, these gloves, the blue ones, this belt for example, and the boots, the standard boots. Then save it as a template, click this and go back. Now you have access to it here in the blueprint section. And of course there's a lot of clothing blueprints. Everything here that you can see with the blue band here. All in all, approximately over 50 Frosty Planet Pack exclusive blueprints. At the destination select screen, this one here, you can now see when you replace any asteroid with a Ceres fragment, you first have to activate the Frosty Planet Pack DLC content, then guarantee the fragment and go back to the world traits. It shows you which planet is replaced with the Ceres fragment. Now you know. As for the world generation in general, for the DLC only, the classic style Ceres. Classic? Ceres now has a radioactive biome with critters and plants. I spawned in a fresh new world, and as you can see, we do have radioactive biomes in this planet here, even if we activated the Frosty Planet Pack DLC planet called Ceres. Here, as you can see, also radioactive biomes. Very nice. They also adjusted the showroom point of interest position to appear closer to space, as you can clearly see by this placement right here. Also, this is a beautiful ceiling, window tile from diamond, fancy. I think this is just diamond behind a diamond tile. Still nice. They did some minor adjustments to the geothermal heat pump placement on all Ceres asteroids. Ours is pretty much in the middle down here on this asteroid, near the oil biome but not near the magma biome. They also improved the point of interest placement near the start to reduce world generation failures. In our case, we do have a point of interest here, right here, and everything else is further away. They added the blasted Ceres asteroid to the lab, this one here, which just like the regular the lab map has a few of their biomes flipped and a lot of weird stuff going on down here. They updated the visuals of the geothermal vents. They now look like this or this. And of course the first one that you've already seen, the blocked one. There's a reason for this, and that is because they added a new goal to the game. The goals of the game can be seen when you click on the Frosty printing pod or your regular printing pod, just your printing pod. And here you can see the classic Home Sweet Home, The Great Escape from the Spaced Out DLC, same as Cosmic Archaeology, and now we do have Full Steam Ahead. In order to get the Full Steam Ahead achievement, you first need to find the geothermal heat pump and activate it with a duplicate. Then you press the Reconnect Heat Pump button and deliver 1200 kg of steel to it. After you have done that, the duplicate will activate the building. Click on it, read the text, and the pump has been activated. Now if you press on the liquid overlay, you can see that it has 3 liquid inputs. Before filling the thing up, I would recommend finding the geothermal vents. These one here. Go send a duplicate and activate them or reconnect them, which is this tiny button here in the down right. So let me just spawn in a duplicate here, press the reconnect button. And this one here should be reconnected. As you can see here, this is ready and this is disconnected. Let's do the same thing for this vent, reconnect it. And then we can find the blocked one. The blocked one is the vent with a solidified behemoth patty on top of it. In order to get rid of the blockage, check the status here to the right, hover over blocked, and it tells you that it's currently obstructed by a lead mass. I am not completely sure if this is different for each of the asteroids or if it is different on each playthrough. I have had lead 3 times now. So in order to unblock this specific vent, you need a different input temperature to this machine right here. If you only use water, you will only be able to use this geovent and this geovent, but not the blocked one, which also prevents you from getting the full Steam Ahead achievement because you need to clear the blocked geovent. So first let's fill this thing up now. And just a quick tip here, lead melts at 300 and around 30 degrees Celsius. The building shows the current pressure and liquid temperature right in this little tab here, or if you click on the building here on the right. Just for the funsies, I pumped in a little bit of glass. Of course the duplicates are not producing it themselves, so I used the dev mode for that. But just make sure that the temperature here is above lead temperature if you really want to clear the blocked vent. You can of course use the other vents by filling this up with water first, which gives you 180 degrees stuff that you can use to clear the blocked vent then. So I replaced the glass with normal water now. Let's go back and check this out, and as you can see the temperature is dropping pretty quickly. So whatever you put in has influence on the temperature of the whole thing. We need to be above 370 degrees Celsius. So either you use a lot of heat in the first try, or you use the input water to output hot steam, use that to heat up something else and input that as well. But for now, let me show you what happens if you use the correct temperature. Let's go to magma. The temperature is rising again, the pressure is rising. Okay, we are now at 100% and are able to activate the building. If I press this button now, it shows us that we actually managed to unblock the geothermal vent. And we achieved the full Steam Ahead achievement. As you can see, we now do have the shiny core coprolite, this one here, and we can use the geothermal vents. This one here just has been unblocked and is now usable, whereas the other two are outputting material and steam depending on the stuff that you put in. In our case, we put in magma, glass and a little bit of water, and we get liquid sulfur, glass as well, and other materials. Same goes for this geothermal event. And now I show you what happens when the liquid that we put in does not have the required temperature. As you can see, the temperature is going down and it is not hot enough to melt the lead, but the pressure is still going up to 100. Jerry, just god damn it. So now that the pressure reached 100%, we can activate the power plant. And it will show us that the connected geovents output material, depending on the stuff that we put in. The temperature of the steam is depending on the stuff that we put in, and the material that it outputs is depending on whatever we put in. I of course have done some testing, which I will share with you later. This one here is outputting the same materials, but what can we learn from this? First off, we did not manage to unblock this vent because the output steam was not hot enough to melt the lead mass that is obstructing this geovent. But going back to this vent, we can use the heat of this output steam to go back to our geothermal heat pump, heat up some liquid and then put in hotter liquid. So if we, for example, put in liquid nuclear waste at only 30 degrees Celsius, let's see at which temperature the system outputs it through the vents. Remember that all the other vents need to be cleared out before we can actually use the new filled in liquids, which is why I go back to the vents and disconnect both of them. The third one is blocked anyway, so we can't just connect or reconnect them. Now we have to wait. As you can see, we are at 100% pressure and this should be mostly filled with 30 degrees Celsius liquid nuclear waste. Sadly, you cannot see this down here. So if we go to any of the vents now, let's choose this one, clear this out, make this a vacuum, insulate this and clear this up. Let's see what this outputs if we reconnect it. Of course we do get steam, but steam at 180 degrees Celsius, even though we only put in 30 degrees liquid nuclear waste. we do get igneous rock, granite, salt and dirt in tiny amounts, as well as a little bit obsidian. And we do get a whole lot of liquid nuclear waste. Give me a second. So what can we do with this now? Let's wait for this to finish first. We still do have around 7 tons remaining, because the whole 12 tons will be output, of course. Let me disconnect this so we can count this better. After everything has been output, we can now count it. So we can see a total mass of 11.8 tons, not 12 tons, because I removed a little bit of material, the one here on the top. And the rest is liquid nuclear waste, 10.5 tons, but not at 30 degrees Celsius, but at 180 degrees Celsius. And we also got a little bit of steam, 1.2 tons, also at 180 degrees Celsius. So what can we do with this now? Easy, we just use this liquid and then pump it inside of this building, but this time hotter than before. Overheat damage? Why? Shouldn't you be made? Ah, this one. So, because this is already at 100% pressure, we first need to empty this out for us to use it again. So let's empty it out right here. And then go back to the building and check the temperature that we input. This time we have a mixture of 30 degrees Celsius stuff and 180 degrees Celsius stuff, averaging us at 125 at the moment. So this one has been filled up again, but we cannot output it until the last vent. This one here has already output all of its materials, so let's disconnect it and just wait. Go back to the geothermal heat pump. And then once we are able to use it again, go to our first vent, yes, this one, and reconnect it. This time, just to be sure and we can see it, start with a vacuum. And the steam that is output right now is at 277 degrees Celsius, as well as our liquid nuclear waste, which we can then use again to heat this up any further to finally unblock the last vent. I probably should have stopped the pump. This one, yeah, pretty cold. And now that we do have the hotter stuff, let's put that in. But before that, disconnect it. So right now we're pumping up the 277 degrees Celsius liquid nuclear waste. And we are feeding it in, could you not? Feeding it in to the geothermal heat pump, increasing its temperature at the moment to above 144. Let's wait a little bit. And it is at around 200 degrees right now. Let's go back to this vent here and output it right here. And apparently that was enough for our geothermal power plant to actually get rid of the blockage. And we got a full steam ahead achievement. We finally managed to pop the pooper. And with this we do have 3 different vents. This one, and this one, that we can use to output material and steam. The building itself tells us that the input temperature determines the type of materials emitted. I am not completely sure if it is just the input temperature, but also the input liquid type, so we need a lot of testing for that. Here's the stuff that I tested so far. I put in water at 27 degrees Celsius, 12 tons of it, and I got 50 kg of igneous rock, obsidian, 22.5 kg of salt, 4 kg of dirt, and the rest was the rest of the 12 tons of water, but this time output as steam at a temperature of 180 degrees Celsius. I also tested 12 tons of pure magma at 1700 degrees Celsius. We did get 3500 kg of igneous rock, 50 kg of granite, 63 kg of rust, 22.4 kg of salt and 4 kg of dirt that instantly turned into sand. And the rest was steam at 355 degrees Celsius. I also tested liquid carbon dioxide, which gave us steam, salt water, polluted water and materials. You have already seen what happens if we put in nuclear waste at 30 degrees. This time I filled in liquid hydrogen at minus 255 degrees, which made it minus 254.5 degrees once it reached 100% pressure. Now let's go to this vent and reconnect it and see what happens. Nothing. Why? Because this one here is still connected and hasn't finished output its material from last time. So let's wait for that. We managed to get our vent running, and once it finished we can see what it output completely, but we can already guess what this will end up with. So we do have hydrogen gas at minus 104 degrees Celsius, so it increased the temperature drastically, and it is outputting polluted ice and ice. Let's count this. So we do have 50 kg of granite, 50 kg of obsidian, 50 kg of igneous rock, 200 kg of ice, 70 kg of brine ice, 30 kg of ice, so we can connect those two, 246 kg of ice, and 400 kg of polluted ice. By the way, these here have an overpressure tile, which is either this tile or the tile above, so this one here or this one here. And it apparently stops at around 100 to 125 kilograms per tile. So let's open this up back again and make this a little bit larger. Yeah, it keeps going, venting the rest. I also tried out liquid sulfur. I put it in at 150 degrees Celsius and it comes out at around 300 degrees Celsius. But we do lose a little bit in the process. This here equals to 11 tons of liquid sulfur at 300 degrees Celsius instead of 150, and 702 kilograms of steel, as well as these materials right here. The materials are granite, rust, obsidian, igneous rock, dirt, and a little bit of salt. Then I wanted to test what happens if you put in liquid steel at 1800 degrees Celsius. The temperature ended up at around 1688 degrees Celsius. Now let's go to an unused vent, prepare it a little bit, and then reconnect it. And immediately disconnect it. Oh, interesting. This time we had 13 tons remaining instead of just 12. Not sure why. So we do get more material out of this. This is weird. We are outputting molten steel at a slightly colder temperature than we put it in. We also get molten aluminum. Let's check this out. Oh, interesting. Check out the gases first. We got sulfur gas, hydrogen gas, steam, and salt gas. And for the liquids, we got magma, molten aluminum, and molten steel, and molten iron. Super interesting. What do we have here? Obsidian and sand. So put in molten steel, get out a lot of weird stuff, and also block the vent. It doesn't even move, it just stacks, come on. We also got molten lead now. Let me just get rid of all this stuff. Molten gold, copper. This is super cool. But the maximum temperature seems to be 1538 at least for our input temperature. And here we can clearly see the output tile. So it is the top tile. Filling in liquid oxygen will of course give us a little bit of oxygen and a little bit of material. Let's see what it ends up with. So we did get ice, polluted ice, brine ice, igneous rock, granite, and a little bit of obsidian. The rest is oxygen at around minus 48 degrees Celsius. The liquid oxygen I put in was at around minus 180, I think. Let's also test crude oil at 80 degrees Celsius, which brought us 78.7 degrees Celsius inside of the machine. Okay, another try with the crude oil. Reconnect it and check out what we got. Steam and crude oil at around 226 degrees Celsius. Oops. 226. If we use that 226 degrees Celsius crude oil now and feed it in the geothermal heat pump again, we end up with around 225 degrees or less depending on your pipes. And on the geo vents, let's see. That just bugged right through the wall. We do get rust, a little bit of it, obsidian, salt, granite, sand, and igneous rock. The rest is really hot crude oil and steam. If we use that again and feed it in, we should get petroleum. Let's also test this. At the moment I fed in the crude oil at 375 degrees Celsius, which equals to around 368 degrees Celsius. Let's see what do we get if we output that here in the next cycle. Let's reconnect it, zoom out a bit, wait. There is probably still a vent, yeah, that hasn't output all of its material. Go back to this one, and yes, it does output molten lead. No petroleum? Yeah, petroleum and molten lead. Interesting. So if we would want to put that back into the machine, we would either need a filter or live with whatever side product the molten lead gives us in the end. But we already reached 518 degrees Celsius. So we could put in 518 degrees Celsius petroleum. Let's see what that does. This time I put in petroleum at 518 degrees Celsius. The pressure is still building up and the temperature of the material is at 516 degrees Celsius. Now let's wait for the next cycle and test this. We reach the next cycle and let's press reconnect. And as we have expected, this should give us sour gas, but also steam and sulfur gas. So apparently it outputs sulfur and molten lead again. Yeah, I'm interested in the numbers, so let's wait until this is finished. It is overpressuring though, so gotta make this bigger. Let's check it out. Mark the whole area. Do not mark this. And then we write 11.1 tons of sour gas, 702 kilogram of steam. This seems to be a fixed number, this 702. 72 kilograms of molten lead and 36 kilogram of sulfur gas, as well as the material on the ground, which this time consists out of rust again, igneous rock, granite, obsidian and a bit of salt. So far we have noticed that the output tile is the top tile of the geovent. It mostly outputs stuff at a minimum temperature of 180 degrees Celsius if it tries to output something as hot, but it can also output stuff when it's colder than that. Maybe it's like the building temperature. If colder than 40, then use cold temperature. If hotter than, for example, let's say 100, you always use 180 or at 100 degrees Celsius. Not sure, we can test that in the future. There seems to be a fixed amount of steam in some cases where it is almost always 702 kilogram for some reason, and we mostly do get obsidian, granite, igneous rock, sometimes rust, sometimes dirt, a little bit of salt, and in some cases we do get frozen water or liquid water and polluted water, as well as brine. It is not just the input temperature that decides the output, but it's also the input liquid. The output has at least some connection to the input liquid. In case of the molten steel, it is a lot of molten steel and molten other metals. But besides all of these information, I think that is enough for the heat pump at the moment. There's now also a pause menu interface for enabling the Frosty Planet Pack content on saves that don't currently have the Frosty Planet Pack enabled, but I'm not going to deinstall it just to test this. And a special thanks to all my patrons and members that you can see happily and cozy on the screen right now, which allow me to do this kind of videos. If you want to stay updated, you can subscribe to the channel, and if you don't want to miss the next update or let's play, press the little bell icon. Love you guys, and Luma out.